listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Listen up and get tapped into local important resources, information, and topics. Learn more about the topics of today's show at buncombecounty.org. Okay, it's time to get tapped in.
Hello, hello, hello. And greetings to everyone that hears my voice. You know what that means. It's time to get tapped in. And it is one of your hosts, ZaKiya Rogers.
And I'm Leonard Jones.
Leonard and I come to you from the Communications and Public Engagement Department, where the real heroes wear capes.
Joining us today from our Communication Department at Buncombe County is Jeremy Lett, Community Engagement Manager with Buncombe County's Communication and Public Engagement Department. He is here to share information about the current school system consolidation feasibility study. That's a mouthful. So Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you all for having me today.
All right, so Jeremy, we always make sure our guests tell our audience who they're listening to. So give us a little bit about yourself, just so they know who they're listening to today.
So my name is Jeremy Lett. I'm the Community Engagement Manager with Buncombe County Government in the Communication and Public Engagement Department. I'm originally from Conyers, Georgia. I moved here 12 years ago. I've worked in public engagement and community engagement with the city and the county. I've been here about 6 months and really enjoying the position.
Awesome. So, we are talking about a school consolidation study. What is that?
Good question, ZaKiya. So in September of 2023, and the topic of school consolidation is something that has been explored since about 1963.
Oh, wow.
But in September, the North Carolina General Assembly passed HB 142, which mandated that both the city school system, the Asheville City School and Buncombe County School, jointly study the feasibility of a merger. Mm-hmm. And so that legislation was passed back in September. The county was appointed sort of the lead project member or the lead team member for this project in October. And since then, we've been working with Prismatic, who is the consultant on this work, and they've been doing a lot of the work around the school consolidation feasibility study.
Okay.
So with Prismatic, they're the one kind of leading or the third party to help us gather this information. Tell us a little bit about Prismatic.
Yeah, so Prismatic and sort of I'll take a step back a little bit in the process. And so once HB 142 was passed, once the county sort of accepted the role of the lead project manager, there was an RFP that was open. We had about 7 individuals submit to sort of lead the charge on this. And Prismatic had a very compelling story. So they were selected as the vendor. So they're based out of Charlotte. They've done about 300 projects like this in 31 cities and counties. And so they've been doing a lot of the work leading the charge on consolidation. So they've been working internally with school staff. They've been working with us on some of the community engagement stuff. But yeah, they've been leading a lot of the charge in conjunction with the county, the city school system, and the county school system as well.
Oh, wow. So when they say consolidation,
yeah.
So just so we let the folks know,
Yeah.
Consolidation means that we have 2 school systems,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to see how we would operate if we combine both of them and made one school system.
That is correct. So they're looking at all aspects of it. And so some of the work they've been doing internally, they've been meeting with finance staff, human resource staff, they've been meeting with teachers. So they're looking at everything from academic offerings, just all that goes with the possibility of bringing 2 school systems together. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, a lot of the work that they have been doing is looking at this in totality. They're trying to get feedback, again, from the community. They're getting feedback from local organizations. And so, again, a lot of the work that they have been doing is really looking at all aspects of what a merger might mean and all the various sort of permutations of what that looks like. And so, yeah, it's a lot of work.
And so you had mentioned around sort of some of the pre-work they've been working on. It's been some, what do you call them? It slipped my mind.
Yeah.
There's been some, not feedback groups,
Yeah.
there's been focus groups.
Yeah,
That's the word.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for focus groups. And so there's been some focus groups, and you talked about different entities within the school system. Who's been some of those people or organizations or type of organizations involved in some of those focus groups?
Yes, that's a good question. And I guess I jumped ahead, so I'll jump back a little bit. And so even when Prismatic was selected as the vendor, there was a project team that was assembled. So that project team that's been working alongside Prismatic on a lot of this work has been school staff. Students have been involved. Of course, us from the county, individuals from the city school system, the county school system. So there's a project team that's been assembled to look at all of sort of like the feedback that we're getting in, some questions to present, and just kind of brainstorm about what all of this can mean. So Leonard, what you sort of spoke to was some of the work that's been done in the background. So we have these meetings coming up in September where, again, we're really trying to hear from the community about that. But some of the pre-work that's been done is that project team, again, we've met, thought about some of the questions, thought about who are some of those target groups we really want to hear from, because we really want to put equity at the forefront of some of the work that we've been doing. We've done focus groups. So we reached out to right about 100 community organizations.
Okay.
And we had focus groups where we really wanted to hear from behavioral health organizations. We wanted to hear from private schools, from charter schools, from community-led organizations, behavioral health institutions. We want to hear from secondary and higher education institutions. So that's a lot of the work that we want to do, hearing feedback from them about what a consolidation may mean from them. Really getting a lot of that feedback and hearing from as many members as possible to compile this report that's going to be due by February of 2025.
And so I just got a follow-up kind of question.
Yeah.
I know you laid out some of the history. So if a listener was listening today and we're talking about a potential school system consolidation feasibility study,
Yeah.
who requested this study?
North Carolina General Assembly.
North
So,
Carolina, okay.
yeah, so in September, again, they passed House Bill 142, and they really want to look at, again, both units and a merger, looking at what that may mean for the community. And so I also reference, this is not the first time this has been done. Again, this happened for the first time in 1963. And about every 2 to 6 years, this has sort of been happening. And so,
For 60 years.
yep, for 60 years, yep.
And so I guess when people hear consolidation,
Yeah.
and they think about big organizations consolidating, they always think of loss.
Yep.
And so it probably brings a lot of fear.
Yep.
And things up. And so before I just want to get this out here before we get too deep in.
Yeah.
There are meetings that are going to be going on in the community.
Yeah.
So can we highlight some of those meetings and how people can participate? Because I know they're probably like, oh my God, consolidation. But how can they learn more on their own and then also be involved?
Terrific question. The first thing I would do, because again, a lot of this work has been done internally with these community meetings coming up in September. That's when individuals will really get to hear from the consultants. They'll really get to see some of that work that's being done, learn a lot of that background information. So to that point, we have some meetings coming up. The first one will be on September the 9th at Owen Middle School. That will be from 3:45 to 6:30. The next meeting will be September the 10th, 2024, from 3:45 to 6:30. And we're going to be having meetings all throughout the month of September. And you can definitely find that information on the county's website. But I also want to say, if you're not able to make it to that meeting, we have a survey where you can definitely participate and give feedback and sort of hear from that. And also just to sort of piggyback on what you first said, you're right. I think it's really important not only to give that input about what consolidation means, but learn more about it. Because you're right, consolidation and the notion of that can be sort of daunting, especially if you're someone who grew up around here, you've been through this before. And so those meetings that are coming up, and please visit the website where you can see all those meetings, please come by and learn more about it and give that input and really sort of share that feedback about how this could affect you, how it could affect your children, just kind of learn more about the process.
And so with these drop-in community meetings that be happening throughout the month of September around various schools around here in Buncombe County and the City of Asheville School District, what can community expect if they go to one of these drop-in community meetings?
Great point. So there's these drop-in sort of style meetings. You'll have the ability to come in first and foremost, meet the consultants, meet the individuals who are leading the charge on this work and who've done a lot of work up until this point. You'll also have a series of stations where you'll be able to leave feedback in several different ways. So there might be a feedback station where you can just kind of open-ended responses. If you want to leave a short video kind of talking about consolidation and talking about what it may mean, you have an opportunity to do that. Computers will be set up for those who want to sort of leave a input that way through doing the survey. And there's just going to be a variety of formats and input stations where community members can come by, learn more about the process, give feedback, and just sort of participate in, and sort of giving input about what consolidation means.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, as I hear you talk about the drop-in meetings, just for the listeners out there, it seems like it's very, very different ways in which to give your input. And so when we think of consolidation, as you mentioned, ZaKiya, you mentioned around an idea around loss, but it's not just, and a lot of people think about taxes, where the money's coming around that you pay for the taxes into the school system. And so we want to hear from a large swath of the community on this possible feasibility study here with our school system, because we know we hear of the achievement gap issue between our black and white students in our school districts, but also people thinking of the taxes, what's going on. We also hear several things about turnover and leadership, especially within the Asheville City School District. So we really want to hear a lot of people, no matter if you've got school-aged children, to participate in it, because when you think of the school system, it's something that's really, it impacts our future. But it also have a lot of it's a lot of opportunity there. So sometimes something may be cost effective, but you got to think about, is it producing what you would like to see out of the future? Just as we talked about, achievement gap issue, turnover rate, teacher pay, all those input is needed in this consolidation study to give us a more well-rounded approach in this consolidation feasibility study.
And can I speak that for just a minute? Because that's a good point, and I think even sort of when I introduce myself and talking about the role that we've been doing, and so we definitely want to make sure we have robust feedback. A lot of the work that myself and also we have been doing is really making sure that from the timing of the meetings, the formats, who we're getting the word out to, we really try to be really intentional to get as much robust feedback as possible to make sure that individuals can share their feedback and sort of give their input about this. I've gone to a couple of meetings and I've heard that these school systems, Cougar Pride, we've heard a lot of this. So this is a really charged topic, and we really want to make sure people can come out and voice their opinions and say this, because a lot of the work that we've been doing in planning for this and the community engagement strategies and looking at some of the risk assessments to consider and making sure, for example, language. We have over 7 languages that are going to be present, so each individual who wants to come by and give that feedback can have the accessibility that they need to give that honest feedback and give that input. Because again, this is a lot of work, and this is, again, once the consultants drum up that report, and again, it's going to be presented by February. This is a potentially huge decision that could be coming. So we don't know.
So, and if you're just tuning in, this is Tapped In, and we do have Jeremy Lett here with us, and we are talking about the school system consolidation feasibility study, and we're glad you're joining us. We talked about who's important, who we want to invite, and when people say, "Oh, I don't have school-age children," or "I don't have children at all, my children are grown," it doesn't involve me, I don't live in that area. This involves everyone. And somebody will say, well, if you have a pet, it involves you. You know why? Because people are going to come out of that school system, they're going to go to college, and they may become your veterinarians. You want to make sure that they have the best school education that they could possibly have gotten. They may be walking down your street to catch the bus to a new location. Things change. Realtors, you want to know, because if there's a new school going up somewhere, because there's an overflow, you want to know. So this affects everyone who pays taxes and lives and breathes air and lives in air and breathes air in our community. And so it is important for everyone to talk about.
Yeah, and you're spot on. And I think even with the survey that's on the public input page, once you look at the survey, if you are a community member, if you're a staff member of ACS or BCS, if you're a student, there's different questions depending on which role that you play. So yes, you might be saying, I don't have any school-age children right now, so how does this impact me? Well, we thought about that. So in that survey, there's really intentional questions to get at that, because like you said, this does impact and affect you in some capacity. So yeah, it's a really good point.
Yes, it's one of those ideas. Just speaking personally for myself, my parents went to Asheville City Schools, I went to Asheville City Schools, and my kids went to Asheville City Schools. So a lot of times when you think of a consolidation, just being honest about it, is more about Asheville City Schools becoming Buncombe County Schools. And what that means to our community, what that means in terms of representation when we think of school boards and the processes that go. We do know that Buncombe County Schools recently just changed the way they, due to the General Assembly, had to change the way in which they elect their school board members by district. So this has there's things coming out of Raleigh that's impacting our school system, and it's just very important that our community is aware of those things and how they may impact. So just a school consolidation potentially could be redistricting of school districts, So when you look at those cost savings, you think of things around population size. We know the south part of Buncombe County, TC district, is experiencing a lot of growth down there. So how did that impact their school system? So these are the things that when we think about what my input would matter, think about how that can impact and change those districts, or those big or small. Those are the things that we are really trying to just bring to the community knowledge around it. So Jeremy, you had given us some of the timeline on this initiative that the county and along with the school districts are doing. Can you just run through again, what is that timeline?
Yeah, so again, September of 2023, House Bill 142 was passed. And again, that's mandating both school systems jointly study the feasibility of consolidation. Once that happened, the county was selected as the sort of lead representative on this work. And so that happened in October. And so between October and early March, this was when we were really putting together that project team, putting together some of the goals, putting together some of the information to make sure that we selected the right vendor to do this work. And so in April, Prismatic was one of the vendors that was selected to do this work. Again, Prismatic is based out of Charlotte. They've done over about 300 studies similar to this. And so they really stood out from the pack. And so in April, they started doing this work. And some of the work that they've been doing, again, is meeting with staff, meeting with everyone from operations to human resources to finance, meeting with teachers. And so they really want to hear from them and sort of learn as much as they could about the school systems. Then they started doing focus groups, again, meeting from local organizations around here. And now we're in September where the community meetings are coming up. And so a lot of the work that's been done thus far is really looking at more of the internal side. So we've talked to the superintendents and we talked to college presidents, we've talked to all these individuals, but now we really want to hear from the community at large and really hear from all the people about your thoughts about this, how this could impact you, and just really learning more from the community, which was really important in sort of doing this work and selecting the vendor. We wanted to make sure we had robust community engagement, which is why we have meetings all throughout September. And you're gonna also be able to, if you can't make it to the meetings, participate online.
September 23rd.
And so September 23rd is going to be kind of a virtual meeting, so you'll be able to give input that way as well. But again, we have the survey if you can't make it to either of those meetings, or you can give that input.
And also, if you want to get online, that is engage.buncombecounty.org/school feasibility study. And so I encourage all of you all just to look at the website. Because it is very important to have some knowledge of what's going on in there before you go in there. And just like we talk about voting, take a friend, or 4 or 5, because this is important to our community. Anything where there is change, we need to make sure that we have all voices, regardless if you feel like your voice isn't important or not. Go in and just see what's going on and to see how you can help. Because you may come up with a great idea just by getting the information. So again, there are multiple dates and multiple areas. They're not all just at one place. We're actually going into the community. So they're in community centers and middle schools and libraries and places of that nature.
And I'd just like to add, Jeremy, you had mentioned that even students can apply. So this is something not just one person in the household should do. Have your student, if whatever school system, what they like about their school system. Especially if you got hired kids in middle school and high school that's interacting or even switch school systems. It's good to kind of hear, we always ask what the youth voice is. This is an opportunity to allow the youth to have some kind of say in the matter. If they enjoy their teachers, if they switch the districts, I think that's good information that we encourage. So we don't encourage just you, we encourage everyone at your household to participate in this process.
And I just really quickly, even with that, even part of the project team, we had students on the project team. So
That's great.
from the beginning of doing this work, it was important to get their feedback, get their input, think about what kind of questions we should be asking. And again, really hearing from them about how this could potentially impact them, how they're feeling about things now. So we really tried to center that voice from the beginning by having them be a part of the project team.
And this doesn't directly pertain to this situation, but I'm so glad how Buncombe County is starting to really go in and get that youth voice, because we have noticed, transitioning to one Buncombe, we understand that we are one Buncombe, but we must have all opinions and all input from everyone who we serve here. So it's so great that we're asking them, what do they feel is best for them. So,
and another plug I'd like to put out there, just kind of discussing it, you can tell we grew up here, is the idea around, especially if you just moved here, the school districts are very different. And so if you're not aware, if you're in the county schools, research what's happening in the Asheville city schools. They have a magnet school system in terms of their elementary schools, so you can select and choose schools that has like a theme or a focus, whereas our county schools are very much your community schools. You go to the local one in your district. So when we think about feasibility, think of those changes, those impact and how that may differ between the school districts. So I strongly encourage, even before you show up to one of these meetings throughout the month, research how different the two school systems are and what they do have in similarities with each other and what they offer. So when we think about consolidating schools, what can be gained and what be lost, but really have an understanding of the playing field before we just go in just with our own view about what school system, how it impacts us, but just look at the larger picture and just kind of get the lay of the field. That's a recommendation I would have for the listeners out there as well.
Go ahead.
No, just again, that is, I think that's what I've learned most in doing this work. So again, originally from Conyers, lived here for about 12 years now, so it might have sound familiar. But in doing this work, I've learned a lot about the school systems. I've gone to a lot of meetings. I also want to give a sort of a shout out to Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County School staff. They've been really great partners to work with. And so, in going to the project meetings, going to most recently the Joint Commissioners meeting, and really learning more about the schools, learning just how different they are. And again, one of the things that was really interesting to me is looking at how many languages we're offering. Yeah. Who knew that we were as diverse as we are, and we're growing. There's even more languages that are coming. So I think, Leonard, to your point, not only doing the research and learning, but if you're like me and you're not originally from here, doing a little bit of that research and learning about the school system, how different they are, I think it's going to be really important. So really give that feedback, and definitely take the time to learn more about school systems, because they're vastly different.
And we're almost out of time, but when is this project supposed to wrap up?
September community meetings, and then between September and December, the consultants will be taking all of the feedback they've gotten, internal staff, focus groups, community meetings, compiling a report, presenting that in front of commissioners, and then this has to be presented in front of the Assembly, North Carolina General Assembly, by February 15th of 2025.
Wow. Okay. So we're getting ready to start closing, but Jeremy, we always give our guests something. What do you want to leave our audience with? If you have one thing that you want them, when they get finished listening to this, this is the one thing you want them to walk away with.
I'd love for you to come to the community meetings, the drop-in meetings. I think it's going to be really great to meet the consultants, really learn as much as you can about this process, because again, the ramifications of this could be vast. This has happened for many years. Again, it started in the 60s, but definitely come by and give your feedback. If you're not able to make it to the drop-in meetings, we have other ways to participate. So you already referenced our public input page. Please vote. Give your feedback. Give your input. That too. But definitely answer questions, and because again, even if you might not have school-age children, we still want to hear from you. There's still a role that you play in this.
Oh yeah. And
so please take the time to give your feedback, give your input. It's going to be really important to go into this decision.
Professor Jones?
Well, I'll just tell everybody to give their input on this school Consolidation feasibility study. I'm gonna be biased. I'm an Asheville Cougar myself, so Cougar pride. But when I think of the feasibility study, I do think about the potential loss of Asheville City Schools and what impact that may have. So if you're an alumni out there, you're a child, a parent of a kid going through the school system, really take the time out. Just as we mentioned, there are several community drop-in meetings that's happening throughout the month. And I just want to run down so that just you can hear where we'll be at. We're going to be at Owen Middle School on the 9th of September, 3:45 to 6:30. We'll be at the East Asheville Library on the 10th. We'll be at Cane Creek Middle School on September the 12th, Weaverville Community Center on the 13th of September, Isaac Dixon Elementary on September the 16th, Irwin High School, September the 17th, Inca Intermediate School on the 18th of September, Hall Fletcher Elementary School on September the 19th, Skyland and South Buncombe Library on September the 20th, and then there will be an online forum on the 23rd of September. And as we also mentioned, you can always stay engaged on this process if you're unable to go to those meetings by going to engage.buncombecounty.org/school feasibility study, or just go to the engagebuncombe.org and you can see all of the initiatives that Buncombe County has. But really spend the time to give your feedback on this, because the children are our future, and we really need to be conscious to think about what impact this may have, what can they gain, and what they may lose.
Well, I am going to wrap this up. I want to say thank you, Jeremy, so much for joining us today. And this was last minute, and you did an amazing job. I want to thank you so much. I just want to let everybody know that Jeremy is our boss, and so we took it easy on him. But I want to say to
and you get to see the whole engagement team of Buncombe County.
Yeah, so if you
so view us online.
Yes, view us on YouTube on our channel, so you can see all of us and all our personalities. But I want to say this right here as we end. Change is hard. The idea of change is hard, regardless if it's good or bad. And a lot of times it is a fear of what you may lose or what you have to learn. But the only way to actively deal with change is to actively be in that process, no matter who you are. We know that just like we woke up this morning and the temperature was really windy, and that is how quick change can happen. But there were some preparations for it. If you've been watching the weather report, you saw that that little change was going to happen. And so we're giving you this information so you can prepare for if there is a change or if there's not a change. But it is always good to discuss things to make sure that our communities are in the best place, because we are one Buncombe. And at the end of the day, what we want to do is make sure that everyone who is under our community is being taken care of. We have survived so long that we are working as hard as we can to make sure that everyone is in thrive mode. So with that being said, always look on Buncombe, Engage Buncombe, see what's going on, plug yourself into all things around you. You may have received a bunch of emails from me if you're listening, different things. Keep yourself involved. And one thing I want to say to every last one of you all, engage. Marry yourself to your community. Get out there and see what's available, see what's happening. Just like we look at the leaves and they are changing colors, our communities are changing. And we need to be very involved. And until next time, you've been tapped in.
Thank you for listening to Tapped In, Buncombe County's half hour to empower, here on WRES 100.7 FM in Asheville. Learn more about today's topics at buncombecounty.org. Otherwise, stay tuned for more great episodes coming up.